Welcome to Shoot the Breeze, a podcast that celebrates the messiness of life, relationships, and Christianity. It's creatively titled because it will be just us shooting the breeze, sometimes with guests, while occasionally saying something important. We hope you enjoy. We were talking about how what he was saying, it fell back on in...
Give me a preview. Just play that section.
Oh, goodness, where was it? We do my podcast, a react to my own podcast. That would be funny.
Would actually.
That would be cool.
Lacey would be like, no.
It was pretty long. We got into John and how it says, I might have it still pulled up here. John 9? Oh, I don't have it up. Oh, I remember where it is. John 24. Was it John 24 or was that the wrong one?
Well, apparently there's only 21 chapters.
Luke 24?
John 20:19.
Oh, yeah, 23. Verse 23. If you forgive the sins of any, their sins have been forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they have been retained. Right? So, it's like, wait, what does that mean? It's a callback to if you loose, right? Loosing and binding, whatever you loose will have already been loosed in heaven, and whatever you bind will have already been bound in heaven. And what that's saying is, hey, you have the authority to proclaim the gospel. Mm-hmm. If you don't proclaim it, people will not be free.
Right, totally.
Yeah. And so we kind of talked around it, because I asked him, I go, okay, explain this. What do you mean? And so it was that discussion, and we kind of landed on, hey, our responsibility is to forgive. And I think it's a good challenge to go, okay, does that mean they're not forgiven if we don't forgive? And it kind of tracked back to, no, we're the declarers, the proclaimers of the gospel. That is our responsibility. Mm-hmm. We can do it well, or we can retain sin. I mean, we know that God forgives, but it's the idea of you do play a part in the gospel, which goes back to the ministry of reconciliation that we're given. It kind of landed on, I think we have a little bit more authority than what we may initially believe, while not diminishing what Jesus has done and what his authority is.
I'm not sure you answered the question.
We answered the question.
You're just not doing it now.
We took it about 10 minutes, yeah.
Oh.
No. That's what it was.
I look forward to some near misses next week.
It's the idea being, hey, we have the responsibility in forgiving to be Jesus, to proclaim the gospel.
Sure.
Right?
In total agreement.
Yeah. And so, it's like the verse, if you forgive, your sins will be forgiven.
Oh, you've been recording this whole time.
If you don't, I just did it a minute ago. If you don't forgive, your sins won't be forgiven. Does that mean Jesus doesn't forgive me? Or is there something in the transaction that I'm not receiving in light of me not walking through forgiveness? Matthew 6, I think it is. So that it's a hard question, because it's like, wait, are you saying that if I don't forgive someone, I'm not going to be forgiven?
Yes, absolutely.
So then, okay, are you saying that if I don't forgive someone, God's not going to forgive them?
Apparently.
That's what I'm saying, is I think it's worth
the
weight in, hey, don't write that off just yet.
And it's no disagreement there.
Yeah.
In the sense that whether we want to or not, and arguably we should want to,
yeah.
Whether we want to or not, we are told to forgive.
Yeah.
And forgive everything and forgive everyone, which is a tall order, or at least it seems to us.
Yeah.
But I guess where I was confused,
yeah,
is, okay, are we talking about the forgiveness that God gave through Jesus that is open for everyone? And I guess we are.
Yeah.
If not that specific act, but the representation of it.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my question. Are you saying that we're being Jesus in the sense that we're doing what he would do if he was here, and because we're doing that, they're going to see him?
Yeah. I think that's where we landed on the side of the person being forgiven, but also recognizing as a Christian, I think we have more authority than we have more responsibility than what we believe we have. And so it's kind of like what is it where I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth? It's a two part
Both and.
Right. You're forgiven. Let's say you're the offender, okay?
Well,
you're forgiven with Jesus. You're forgiven with Jesus. You're good. You're reconciled with him. I'm choosing as a Christian not to extend forgiveness to you. That's a responsibility on my part. And it's also now recognizing, because I'm choosing not to forgive you as a representative of Jesus, now, as a result of that, I'm putting something on you that you shouldn't have to deal with.
Right.
Am I forgiven? Am I free of this? Am I truly reconciled? And I think... So it's kind of this, if you forgive the sins of any, their sins will have been forgiven. If you retain the sins of any, they have been retained, meaning I think we like, that's not a positive thing. That's not like, hey, you withhold as you see fit. No. It's going, just recognize you're now, what do you call it? Off of the gospel. You're no longer walking in the gospel now.
Okay.
I think that would be I had to go to my Bible commentary because I was like, man, that's a rough one.
What does the Bible commentary say?
He basically says that people are set free based on Jesus and what he accomplished. We represent him
So
well?
it's really more, are we reinforcing what Jesus said?
Yeah.
Or are we putting humanity back into it?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly it. And that's and I think that's a weight of responsibility that we have. And especially if someone, it seems to be people who are wanting forgiveness. And I think this is maybe where Catholicism diverges from the gospel.
Right.
Where they have given man sole authority as to being forgiven under a person and not Jesus.
Is that where they get their authority?
In my understanding of Catholicism. Huh? I cannot stand chewing ice.
I don't even think I like it. I think my dad did it as a kid, and so I just like it's part of being a man.
It makes my teeth immediately.
My dad had teeth of stone.
Oh, goodness.
Literally, there was never anything wrong with them. Half of them were fake, so maybe that was part of it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you should go undercover as a Catholic for like a year.
Yeah. I've actually thought about it.
And then like
infiltrating.
Yeah, not even infiltrating, just be like an expose within Christianity of like
Catholic. I'm pretty sure other people have done that.
Go in and be like, hey, I have a terminal illness, and see what they say. Like just see, who sinned, your mother or your father.
Yeah, right. I'm pretty sure. No, that'd be more of a Calvinist. Yeah, so we did talk about it in our last podcast. What do you have on your mind today?
Oh, okay. So officially we're podcasting.
Well, that's going to probably be in
Welcome back to Shoot the Breeze.
Yes, this is going to be very breezy tonight.
The place where anything, never mind.
What happens on the podcast?
Where did this guy come from?
I got him for Christmas, I think.
Yeah. Is that a Yeti? Because it looks like a
It is
Kong.
a Yeti. Huh?
It looks like Kong.
My daughters, turn him around, love making fun of his butt.
That guy's got a great butt.
He does have a great butt.
That's leg day every day. No, you know what? Let's do, we should just like Questions.
Questions. Okay.
Yeah, like 20 questions.
Like, oh, okay.
Not like actually 20 questions, because
Right.
I would just kick your butt, but
Debatable. Okay, so I have a question for you.
all right. Is this a joke in disguise?
Churches. No, it's not actually.
Okay.
I'm going to get into a discussion that
Oh, let's do it.
we'll see. Churches start off with worship music.
That's-
And no, this is what I want to do this because it's one of those conversations where it's kind of like the conversation we had on Sunday, where it's like, what are thoughts that you have about worship music, different origins? We don't have to list specific names, but just origins of music and why. There's a whole movement of there's certain churches we shouldn't listen to worship music from, this, that, or the other. What makes it different from listening to those or like hymns, which was brought up? So I guess what is your take?
I guess-
What's your
Yeah.
what is it, unpopular opinion?
oh,
Is that right? Yeah.
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 I have a lot of those, especially at home. I guess for me, it's like, whether right or wrong, I was trying to figure out how I could fight against China's slave labor market.
Yeah.
And one of the ideas I had is I'm going to stop buying power tools.
Oh yeah, for batteries.
Yeah,
Because of the batteries.
because the batteries, and
Yeah.
they're all made. I think Makita is like the only company that doesn't make their stuff in China,
Okay.
and they make them in Japan, right, or Taiwan or wherever, but
Yeah.
not China. And so I was like, I'm going to buy air power tools whenever I can,
Yeah.
which
Air power is the plug-in one, right? Or are you talking about like a
Like air
canister?
compressor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
air compressor. And, that had some drawbacks because there's just certain things you can't get. So I was like, okay, next best thing, I'll only buy corded tools,
Okay.
which is still what I'm doing because batteries are expensive.
Yeah.
Stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm not a professional contractor, so I don't need all those portable tools.
Yeah.
Is it practical? Is it really doing any damage to the slave market in China? Probably not. So,
But it's your own.
but it satisfied
Yeah.
my own integrity, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, I have an iPhone, so, I guess my integrity is not that high. But it's a struggle, right? You want to do something. And so everybody has their own little act of defiance, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? For whatever cause they believe in, right, wrong, indifferent, doesn't matter. We all have all things, little actions we take. So I think churches and Christian media is no different.
Okay.
Right? So you grew up in Michigan.
Wisconsin. That's
Lacey's Michigan.
Lacey's, Michigan.
Right.
No, you know what?
They're right next to
You don't
each
even
other.
know me. You don't even know me.
From now on, I'm just going to associate cheese and cottage cheese and be like, he's
Exactly.
from the cheese state.
Exactly. That's exactly what you do.
But you're like, but you are familiar with American, I'm going to name names on this one. American Theological Institute, right? Bill Gothard.
Yes.
Right. So I was homeschooled. Lacey was homeschooled. We're both very familiar with what we called ATIers.
My dad was.
Your dad was.
Yep.
And it was one of those movements, you were either in it or you were out of it, or you were on the fence. And for the people that were in it, a lot of good came out of it.
Unless you're one of the women that.
Right. Perspective, right?
Yeah.
I know several families that were involved with it, and their kids all grew up to be normal and productive and great lives.
It's funny. I know the exact opposite.
Right.
A lot of families who were up in it.
Opposite. And obviously the founder had some serious allegations of abuse towards children, right?
Yeah. One of our friends actually went to court
Right.
because of that. Yeah.
So that's a very specific example
Yeah.
of something that I have information on, you have information on, we have this awareness of it. So I guess if the church wanted to start using American Theological Institute literature, you and I might have an issue with it.
Okay.
Right? Is that fair?
That's okay. This is the hard part. Is there's a lot of good teaching in it, lacking grace.
Right. Because where's it from?
That's right. That's
From the
hard
Bible,
part.
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like good, bad, and different. As long as you're quoting the Bible, there's a nugget in there, right?
Yeah.
And then when you look at worship music, right, there's three real big Christian powerhouses now producing specifically worship music. Not just Christian music, but songs that are designed to be sung in churches.
Oh, wait. I got a question about that.
Yeah.
Do you really think artists who write these songs intend them to be sung publicly?
Some of them.
But do you think even all of them though?
What do you mean?
There's several where I'm like, man, I don't. That's a great song for private contemplation and meditation, but in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't feel like a corporate one.
Oh no, totally.
I don't know if that makes sense.
So, some of them, okay, one that I enjoy, and it's on my very short playlist of modern music for Christian music. You know, I'm stuck in the '90s.
Michael W. Smith and Chris Tomlin.
No, neither.
I do like Michael W.
Oh,
Smith.
Hold on. I know you know this group because my mom had all of them on cassette.
Oh, okay.
She listened to them daily.
Jars of Clay?
No, come on. Come on, man. Just be better.
Be better.
Hold on. It's gosh, anyway.
You said old?
It was old. It was the guy did all his stuff in the Bahamas, and so there was a lot of steel drums in it.
I have no idea.
Very vibrant colors, and it was always sunrise with Jesus, but he strictly wrote worship music.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you later when I find it. But stuff like
not Keith Green.
Not Keith Green.
Who's the other one?
He's like a really lame name.
Okay.
It's like Bill something.
Okay.
But he had he had a choir, so he would set the music.
Yeah.
Old songs, set up new music, got a choir, but upbeat '90s music. Yeah. Kind of like breakfast music on a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kind of thing.
Okay.
Upbeat. But what's the one? It's not Reckless Love. The one where that Josh did, I guess a couple years ago was the first time I heard it. Was you nailed my debt to that old rugged cross.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was ever designed to be a worship song. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was.
Clean Slate or something like that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Don't ask me to put a name on it.
Okay.
Of all the things I can name, worship music
is not one
of them. It's a great song, though. And I think it works corporately.
Yeah.
Because we can identify with that character.
Okay.
But there are some that I'm like, eh.
Probably.
Like the one we discussed one Sunday where it's I
have one that I have.
The waves in the water.
Yeah. Oh.
And I was like, okay, I mean, I get it, but I'm like, do you not know you're already saved?
Do you want to know?
Stand up.
You want to know when I can't stand?
Oh.
It's the one that talks about and I ran out of that grave.
Oh yeah.
I can't stand that one.
I know. I get that. I think, I
get the idea of it. I love the idea of it.
I think we've made the mistake of saying that all Christian music is worship music. Some of it's praise, which is something separate.
We as Christians have made the mistake of worship is singing.
Yes.
That I think is maybe the further step.
Chelsea did do a great blog post about that.
Did she?
Yeah. Not worship is singing, just but different acts of worship.
Yeah. I think I remember reading it.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That I think maybe has messed us up a little bit.
Maybe. But in general, so there's songs that work, there's songs that don't work. There's songs that mean something to you that don't mean anything to me. One I only recently discovered is a very old hymn. By the way, you were talking about some hymns. I'm like, name a hymn. Mm-hmm. Name a hymn that needs to be pulled off the shelf.
Oh, I did have... Hold on. You keep talking, and I will...
You'll look it up. Yeah. So, I'm going through this book by Dave Grossman on spiritual combat.
Yeah.
Theologically, there's a few points that I'm like, that's a little... You're missing the point. He really goes, he has like a whole section on the sword of the Spirit. I'm like, nope, that's Jesus, but whatever. In general, I think it's probably the best book of its kind that I've ever read, being, aimed at policemen, firemen, EMS, on just how to prepare yourself for traumatic experiences through Christianity.
Yeah.
But he has these quotes of various worship music throughout the chapters that he reads like poetry.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he did one I never heard before. And my wife, like, if she ever listens to this, she's going to roll her eyes because I've become obsessed with it.
What is it?
But it's called Fear Not, Little Flock. And it was written in the 1400s or late 1500s, something like that.
Okay.
So it's during the 30 Years' War.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, it's Protestants are being killed by Catholics, and then the Protestants get better and they win. In a nutshell. But the refrain is, fear not, little flock. It's your Father's good pleasure, since you are his treasure, to give you the kingdom of heaven without measure.
Ooh.
And that's the chorus.
I like that.
Okay. So that I thought was cute.
Yeah.
Like, because it's almost like a lullaby, and it plays like a lullaby, and nobody really knows what it sounds like, because it was not, like it was only played in Sweden for forever, because it's the guy who wrote it was Swedish.
Okay.
So I hear this quote in the book, and then I hear the name of the author, and I'm like, ooh, I only know one guy ever with that name. This is Gustavus Adolphus.
Okay.
So he was the king of Sweden, and in Sweden he was called the Mighty Eagle, and the rest of Europe called him the Lion of the North. So basically he had a very brief reign. He reigned for 14 years, and he pushed the French and Spanish Catholic armies out of several European countries that they'd conquered and restored the Protestant monarchies. Okay. That's what he did. And ultimately got a little proud, said God was going to protect him, died in battle. But he wrote this hymn. Okay. And it was just a really interesting contrast because you have this man who's extremely violent in the appropriate places. I mean, he was at war for his entire reign. But in almost a David-esque manner, pins this really gentle worship praise song that's not short and encompasses a lot of parables of Jesus in it. So it's like a 5-minute listen. Okay. Most likely was not set to music by him. Okay. But pretty much everybody agrees he wrote it. And I just thought that was so fascinating. Yeah. That guy was so into worship that he's like, I need to write my own worship song, while I'm killing Catholics. Not condoning. Yeah. It's just funny. But so, I mean, worship is such a big thing. But yeah, I mean, overall, I enjoy praise and worship time at church. Yeah. Sometimes I get confused which one I'm supposed to be doing, worshiping or praising. We go high, then we go low, then we go high again. Can we start low and end high?
I will say, I prefer like an hour-long set. That's my favorite.
Sure. Optional at the end.
Optional.
I got so excited when we started doing Awesome God.
Yeah.
And then when we didn't actually do Awesome God, I was super let down. I mean, like, I was pumped. I was like, I know all the words to this song.
Who wrote Awesome God? He's the contemporary with Keith Green. I forget his name.
No, I've got that one. Hold on. I have that one on my phone.
Okay.
Because it's like I
mean, I guess I can look it up here.
What's it? You do it faster than me, I bet. My phone is broken.
Okay. It was written by Rich Mullins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like Rich Mullins.
I know. But he's... Yeah, theologically, we're a little different, though. But that's a great song. You get the... Especially if you listen to like a 90s version of it.
Oh, with the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember, like, I don't remember Baptist churches. So, like, the church I grew up in that was fairly charismatic, very similar to HCF in Conroe. We would, like, get going, and the worship leader would be like, okay, just the ladies sing. And they would all sing, and they'd kill the kill the music, and the ladies would sing. Like, okay, now all the guys. Yeah. So then all the guys had to like come in a little stronger, right? Right. Right. I don't know why, but like I just missed that.
I remember that.
There was something to that.
Yeah.
Like
my dad was
putting the crowd into it, not just passive.
For a congregational pastor, for a Baptist pastor, he worked in both types of churches, congregational and Baptist. He was pretty rah. It's pretty good. I do remember some of the stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love how you're like timidly saying that, like the Baptists are going to come get you. Like they're going to call your dad. Excuse me, we've recently discovered that you were acting out of the guidelines.
Your son on his podcast said you did rah songs.
We have reason to believe there may have been dancing in your aisles.
No, we didn't. No, we weren't heathens. My wife has a story of Days of Elijah that they would do days, but their church would get into
Paul Wilbur wrote that one.
Church would get into this like dance like thing around their fellowship hall and all right.
But if there was ever a song like for flags and smoke,
Days of Elijah,
that's the one.
100%. Yeah,
that's on my list. I love that.
That's on my list.
I love that one.
Okay, so the conversation of should there be songs that we don't sing because of the origin of where they come from. Here's my thought. I take the gracious side of Jesus had knowingly someone on his team who was embezzling money.
Right.
Would you give to a ministry knowing that the leader knows that he has people embezzling?
I imagine we've all done it.
Embezzled or given?
Given to a ministry where the leader knew somebody was embezzling.
That's
typically it's the leader. That's
what I'm saying though is I think we have to go back to hold on. I understand it. I'm not saying consequences don't need to happen.
Right.
With things that are found out, with things that are done in churches leadership. I'm not saying consequences should not take place. So don't mishear me. What I'm saying though is in those atmospheres where teaching, worship, whatever it is done, do I no longer associate with those things?
Okay, let's put it to you a different way.
Okay.
All right. So embezzling is relatively palatable, right? If Judas had been like molesting the children along the way, do you think he still would have been part of the group?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have that story, right?
It's pretty convenient of Jesus to just have an embezzler, right?
Yeah. Just embezzling.
Well, okay, so no, realistically, right? Because in that conversation that came up, we did talk about one group that has had known sexual abuse that put out probably a third of all Christian worship music sung today, right? And the point was raised that the church makes a ton of money off that music, and really kind of created the Christian music industry that it is today.
Yeah.
And used it to hide from the legal authorities a pastor who had been abusing children until he died.
Yeah.
Right. They removed him from the country he was in. And so the question becomes, okay, do I disassociate with them? Maybe not. Right. Because I mean, Christian community fellowship, obviously Paul was writing letters. But do you continue to facilitate that abuse by giving?
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what was happening. That money created that opportunity. And even though the leadership has changed, the son of that man still runs that organization, and he's had now abuse scandals. And
right.
And now the last I heard, he was not stepping down. That was several years ago, and I basically was like, "This is becoming an obsession."
Yeah.
At no point should anyone ever be like, "It's my job to mind the church."
Yeah, right.
Jesus, and that's what I was doing, right? And because I love a good scandal.
Yeah.
So I had to, we had that conversation about another huge organization that also has a musical side of it, where we had talked about doing a book review, and I was like, what's the like?
Yeah.
Are we feeding my desire to like hate this guy? Or are we going somewhere? And ultimately we were like, okay, later, one day maybe, right?
Those are those truck conversations, like
Right.
in a truck and no one else is there.
Right. And it's, but is it profitable for me to then obsess about it? And so, in both those cases, the answer was no. So I let it go, but I've never given them money knowingly. Right. And at no point would I ever be like, oh, well, I would never fellowship with those people. Right.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's not the body of that church that's committing the offense.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Now, the human side of me is like, well, they're all okay with it because they're still there. But
but how do you?
Right,
Okay.
like I said, the human side of me.
Yeah. Because the other side of that argument, though, is stay to make a culture change.
Right. Yeah, it's really hard to do.
That's what I'm saying is,
I guess that's what we're doing on Earth, though, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
So this is
Same concept.
This gets to a conversation because you and I have had a ton of ideas of we should do like watch and reacts and do book reviews and
Just saying, somebody out of state keeps ruining our good ideas. You know who I'm talking about, or you know who you are. That's what I mean.
Yeah, right. She doesn't listen to our podcast.
Oh, that's wasted.
She wouldn't even know. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. This is one of the many resources we make available for free at our website, cultivaterelationships.com. Our resources have helped people grow in their relationship with God and others. We've seen people set free from uncontrollable anger and paralyzing fear. We've witnessed estranged family members be reunited after working through our freedom booklet. We've helped people build healthy relationship and coping habits through our coaching videos. And all of these resources are made available for free because of the generous support of people like you. If you would like to become a partner, please visit cultivaterelationships.com/support. Now, I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Here's the hard part, though, is ministries explicitly set up to defend the gospel or like heresy hunters. Yeah. To me, I'm like, those ministries, who are you to go, the gospel needs defending and I'm the one to do it? Is that a fair?
Well, I mean, that kind of is the stance Paul took, right?
Okay. Against Judaizers, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, I would argue he was the one to do it specifically, right? That's why he was arguably chosen.
I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think this through.
So there's one guy.
So when the church was being founded in its early years.
Yeah. Somebody needed to defend it against the cultural tradition that it was coming out of, to allow Gentiles to come in.
Thank you. Okay. So it was very
specific.
Okay.
Okay. I'll get specific for just a minute because he's way bigger than me and will never care.
Okay.
Alistair Begg. Right. You remember he was in Controversy a couple years ago.
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever listen to this, Mr. Begg, I could listen to your voice all day long. I
could go to sleep to your voice.
I know.
It's so nice.
I know, and feel like I got all of it.
I could disagree with whatever you're saying and still be like, and I do. And still I'm like, that's fine.
It's the best voice.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a great, there's so much power.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right, he got in some controversy because this, the story as he told it was a woman came to him, said, I've been invited to my granddaughter's wedding. She's homosexual. She's marrying another woman. What should I do? And ultimately, right after counseling and prayer, and I think it went on for more than one session, it was pretty serious. They took it seriously. He basically said, if you value the relationship more than being right, you should go. I think that was the most Jesus thing he could have done. Right? Because how do you change someone's life if you're not in it?
Yeah.
And I've got good friends and family members that we're so ideologically different from each other.
Right.
I don't disassociate with them. Now, am I a little more careful about when we associate or what we're doing when we associate? Sometimes
how we do,
it's appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to create unnecessary conflict.
Right.
But he got in some hot water, right? And so there's, some of the church defenders, right, came up and were like, oh, well, we don't want to say anything bad about him, but, and I don't think it profited anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if he really was wrong,
he erred on the side of grace.
He erred on the side of grace.
Right.
Right? What was the heart of it? Do you love this person?
Yeah.
Do you want to see a change in their life? How are you going to see a change if no one's there to bring the change?
Right.
Right. And ultimately with the big church here in America that I can't stand, or at least can't stand the leader of, right?
Yeah.
I landed on, what is it, Philippians 3:18? I think it is, where Paul says, whether preached out of malice or out of love of Jesus, rejoice that the gospel's being preached. I know it's in chapter 3 for sure, near the top.
Oh, near the top. Okay.
Yeah. Paul's like, I'm in prison and they hate me, and
surpassing the okay. He's talking about confidence in the flesh.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Whatever, that verse exists.
It's the one where he's talking about Christ is preached.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can't find that. Oh, I'm searching in the Gospels. Gospel preaching of Jesus according to the preached, raised from the dead. Okay. Go preach among us. Let me try preach. Because you're talking about whether out of selfish gain, right?
Right. Whether they're doing it for their own sake or whether they're doing it because they love him.
Yeah.
Rejoice that it's being preached.
Yeah.
Is it gospel instead of Christ?
Gospel preaching name should. Foundation established preaching of Christ. Let me try this. Selfish. Selfish. I keep wanting to say shellfish.
Yeah, I get you.
Selfish. Ambition. Philippians. Bitter disorder.
That's it right there, the top one.
117?
117. I knew it was Philippians.
Okay. Now, so it says, some, to be sure, are preaching Christ even from envy and strife, but some from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing I am appointed for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of selfish ambition rather than from pure motives, thinking to cause me distress in my imprisonment. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ proclaimed, and in this I rejoice.
Was that hard for you? It looked really hard for you to read that.
It was very hard.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. I have to...
You really need to get it on like a dual screen so you can read it here instead of trying to look up there.
I mean, I can. I just have different things I'm doing on my screen.
Either way, though, but that's the verse, right? So even though I have like an, it just rubs me the wrong way, or or there really is something there and my spirit's picking it up, which is personally what I believe. Whatever the reason, who does he give the credit to? Right? And there are people whose lives are being changed. And it's not just one certain type of people. So I have to fall back on what Paul just said, is that just rejoice that it's being preached.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the Christian cults out there that preach something similar but not quite the same as the gospel. Where
you have to define what do you mean by Jesus.
Right.
Right? Like, we're not talking about that.
Exactly. We're talking about churches that fall within the Protestant, Catholic, charismatic realms.
Right. If you have Christianity as a spectrum, right, you have your conservative side and your liberal side. Mm-hmm. And that, oh man, it's actually even more complicated than that, I guess.
It's way more complicated.
Fundamental versus freer, charismatic.
I guess it's
conservative. Right, like, I mean, there's so many. What we're talking about is, okay, the ones that are on that fringe.
Right.
Right?
The ones that are Jesus and.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not in the way Nathan and Scott have discussed it previously. It's like Jesus and the law, or Jesus and you gotta tongues. But it's like Jesus and his helper. Like you know, that unnamed third God that's going to come and save you, or alien, Jesus and aliens, that doesn't qualify.
No, we're talking about,
If Jesus has a brother, probably doesn't qualify.
yeah.
Whatever, not the gospel brothers, but like there's some people out there unnamed that believe that Jesus and Satan are brothers.
Well, Michael and the archangel, and yeah, Jesus is Michael the archangel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and brothers with Lucifer.
Yes, that's it.
That one.
That one. So there are so
We're not talking.
We're
about
not
that.
talking about. I mean, we talked about them a lot at this point. Maybe we just should. But either way, so yeah, within regular, normal, everyday Trinity Christianity,
Yeah,
it's a spectrum that you're.
and even that's a.
I know, and
row there.
I have some thoughts on the Trinity. We might get to in a minute. But either way, so with the worship music,
Yeah.
I don't care for this particular organization.
Yeah.
I feel like they. My issue is that the church never said, "Hey, this is wrong."
Right.
They never owned it.
Yeah, it was more of a cover up.
They covered it up for decades.
Yeah.
And then finally, when the truth came out, they were just like, we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's under the blood.
That.
And that's where I'm like, I don't want to give you my money, my time, or my emotion, because they write such great, like they have one.
Mm-hmm.
They have one that like, I just cannot listen to without, tearing up.
Yeah.
And my only defense to that one is they just took it from the Bible. They just set it to music. It's older than them. I can church it up, but
Justify.
I can justify it. And we play it on a somewhat regular basis, and I get excited every time because it's a powerful piece of music.
Yeah.
And I am like so moved by music.
Yeah. I'm a music guy. If I'm stressed, actually, Lacey, she'll be like, "Hey, when was the last time you played the drums?
Yeah.
When was the last time you played your guitar? Seems like it's been a while." It's like,
Oh, and I can sit and listen to like orchestra music.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love symphony. Oh,
So like Chelsea and I went to the Austin Symphony not that long ago. It wasn't my particular choice for what we listened to, but it was still amazing.
okay.
Like I'm literally contemplating spending an exorbitant amount of money to go hear one piece of music that's only being played 4 times in the world this year. And it's going to be played in Tennessee in July. And I'm like, I could ditch my family and go. But it's like a 4-hour piece of music.
What is it?
It's Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade.
Okay.
And so it's like this, like if you ever, what's it, Harryhausen, who was the animation guy, the claymation guy in the 70s and the 60s.
Okay.
Harryhausen was the last name. Sci-fi. He was like a early sci-fi special effects guy, but he did like Arabian Nights, Sinbad the Sailor, the Odyssey, the Iliad, and all the creatures were claymation.
Yeah.
So it's like
King Kong?
Yeah,
Like
no.
Not that far back?
Not that far back.
Okay.
Ray Harryhausen, that was his name.
Okay.
But he was in that fantastical fantasy world, and he did all these kind of Moorish legends.
Okay.
So basically, that piece of music encompasses all those legends.
Okay.
And so you have like one that's like Sinbad the Sailor versus the Typhoon, or Scheherazade and the Prince and the Thousand Tales. And it's really a stunning piece of music that just goes on forever. And I used to fall asleep to it. Ooh. My wife hates it now. And she introduced me to it.
Okay, this is kind of a tangent. You have a theory, just talking about all those old stories and everything like that.
Uh-huh.
You have a theory that a lot of the Greek and Roman mythologies, dealing with like Hercules and all those things, are actually real stories based on real things like the Nephilim and what.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's just my theory. Like I think it's a predominant theory at this point.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. How we were
the one that's uniquely mine that I will absolutely prove one day, probably right before I die. I'll publish it, and then I don't have to hear any arguments.
hearing it. Yeah.
Mine is that the King Arthur legend is solely based on King David.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's grounded. I mean, there's a lot of unique.
Have you heard anyone else?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
But you start doing the 1-to-1 compare. Like if you just go off the original Welsh legend, which there's not much there.
Yeah.
Like it's very small. We know a few things. We know he was a king of a big kingdom and in a kingdom where everybody liked him. Mm-hmm. Very happy, very godly. Like God is always.
Would it be Solomon though?
I don't think so.
Because that was the piece.
Wise, right? Okay. He's very wise. So there is a Solomon-esqueness to it. Okay. But he had the mighty men.
Yeah.
Right? The Knights of the Round Table. He had a sword pulled from a stone. So if those of you that have never really put any thought into this, when David goes on the run and he goes to the priest to get the showbread, mm-hmm. right? Jesus makes a big deal out of the bread, but he ignores the sword. He asks, what is it,
Jehoiakim?
Jehoiakim? I think so. It's one of those.
Yeah.
He asks him, do you have any weapons here? And the guy's like, well, no, except for the sword of the giant Goliath that you put on the altar. Mm-hmm. And so he goes to the altar and he takes the giant sword off the altar. So now we have a sword from a stone.
Interesting.
And there's others.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's to the point that it's like, I think a Jewish slave left behind by the Romans told a story and they were like, this is great.
I like it.
This is, I'm going
to use it.
I think David and Arthur are basically the same name.
Yeah.
In Welsh, of course.
Of course.
But no, it's a fun little one day. I might actually look into it because we know there were Jewish slaves in Britain in the 1 and 200s. Britannica, right? So it's not really that a fantastic of a concept.
Yeah.
That by the 700s, that story would be British.
Yeah. Sorry. I totally diverted us.
From worship.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So this idea though of I guess my thought is we have to be led by the Spirit, and if we draw a hardened, again, I'm not talking about consequences of churches and people's actions.
And that's not our business.
Nope. But what I'm saying is we individually have to be led by what is the Holy Spirit leading us to do. Right. What are we convinced by? Right? It's what Paul says in the end of Romans 14. Hey, you have to live your life the way the Holy Spirit has convinced you, and I have to live it the way the Holy Spirit's convinced me. Now, what this doesn't mean is there's not like, I'm convinced there's Christian stripping. No, there's not. Right? Like, there are standards that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But it's recognizing, hey, in a lot of these areas, and Paul says it in Romans 14, what you have faith for or what you don't have faith for. That's what you have to live by, because whatever is not done in faith is sin. Right? And so I look at these, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, like in this conversation, and it could go from what kind of worship music you listen to, who wrote the worship music, to what kind of church governance do you have, what kind of church layout do you have? Do you have a mega church? Do you have a video church? Do you have a house church? Do you have a whatever? And you're uniquely against streaming, as I understand it. Okay. I'm just saying, if you're going to call people out. Yeah, right? No, I think there's ways that things should be done? Absolutely. Right. I think anyone with a thinking brain has opinions that they, you know what I mean? Like opinions. Yeah. Okay, cop out. It's all right. Yeah, no. But this is the point though. I am convinced of what I think is best, but it also doesn't mean I'm going to go burn the church down and do the right way. Well, I guess the point is, right? No one's advocating that worship shouldn't happen. Yeah. That we shouldn't play worship music, that nobody, I don't think anybody's standing up being like, oh, the electric guitar's got to go. Well, talk to the Church of Christ. All the guitars had to go. Yeah, exactly, all of them. Cody, if you listen, we miss you. I just had coffee with him the other day. That's awesome. He's great. So yeah, no, but it's like, should the church be choosy in what it listens to? Should the church as a whole say, hey, you church over there that is absolutely part of our body, we love you, we love what you're doing,
but you absolutely have to correct yourself.
Is this the same? Are you essentially advocating for essentially like a boycott?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Okay, no, that's what I want to clarify.
No. Okay. I don't, well, I mean, personally, that's fine if you want to do that.
That's what I mean by, is this a personal conviction? Or is it like,
Well, the question becomes, why wouldn't it be a personal conviction for everyone? At what point do you say, hey, we love your people, like was right, we love the sinner, hate the sin, right?
Yeah.
Same kind of concept. I don't know. I personally struggle with it. Like, I can't separate the two.
So, okay, what about Christians who, after they're dead, or even while they're still alive, have been convicted of terrible things?
Sure.
Do we still listen to their sermons? Do we still buy their books?
Well, but the key point there, right? Repentance. Like Chuck Colson. Are you familiar with Chuck Colson? Mm-hmm. Okay. Chuck Colson embezzled millions of dollars, part of the Enron scandal. Repented.
Okay, what about non-repentant?
Right, non-repentant. Okay, so we still love you.
Mm-hmm. But because there's good stuff in those books, do I still buy them?
I mean, I personally say no, but...
See, that to me, I'm like...
Because guess what? There's great stuff in the Bible.
Yeah.
Maybe we should spend less time reading people's like opinions on it and just read the Bible and then talk about the opinion instead of writing a book about it.
Man, you're like a purist of like the Bible only.
No.
How many books do you read? I only read one. It's
no,
the Bible.
I'm not.
No, I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're gonna make me swing out hard here in a minute. I had two very high level members of this church, and you're one of them, so congratulations. Suggest a book by a prominent televangelist.
Oh yeah.
It was terrible.
That's so funny.
Like, but I remember having the discussion with my wife about it, like where the two of you were when you read it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I was not anywhere near where y'all were.
Yeah.
Like well, I won't speak for the other party. I know were in the hospital when you read it.
Yeah.
I read it because I was like, oh, he really likes it. Maybe there's something to this. It was terrible. The theology was so bad. But if I wanted to pick me up, if I wanted to feel good about myself, I could totally see how you could walk away with that.
Oh, okay. So it's true. It was actually, I kind of forced myself to read it because I was in the hospital and had time.
Yeah.
And basically, I was doing my own research on. I've heard these things about all these different people.
Right.
I might as well do the due diligence. I have the time to watch the sermons, to listen to podcasts, to read their books. There was one. Okay, Streams in the Desert. Probably one of my favorite devotionals.
Yes. Okay, I'm familiar with this. I've never read it, but I know it.
I read it during the year that I was walking through depression.
Okay.
Like it was one of very few things that spoke to my heart. I went back because after that time, I'm like, Streams of the Desert. If you're not reading that, you're not a Christian.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I went back. It was like earlier this last summer. And I was like, you know what? I want to get back into it. And I'm reading it. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so sad. Like everything is terrible.
Really?
It's because he's just dealing with the hard times of the soul in that book. And
so like terrible in the sense that like the theology was terrible, or
no.
It was just it's hard to read.
It's hard to read when you're doing well. It's like reading.
Yes. Okay.
It's like
fair
reading,
enough.
Ecclesiastes. After you've just like celebrated a birthday and had a wedding and everything's going great, it's like, no, let's.
There's some pick me ups in Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
Like two.
What is it? Drink and be happy.
I think there's the end. That one's pretty good.
Yeah. No,
So there are some things you have to be in the right place for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But at the end of the day, the theology of at least the first half of that book, I feel is broken.
Sure.
To the point that it could really, I think it can do as much harm as it could do good. Because it might get you out of a bad circumstance, but you're going to walk away with this opinion of God that is, well, he put me in that bad circumstance for my personal development. which was kind of the first 12 chapters. That was summed up.
And here's the thing. You know I struggle believing God would do, like, God causes evil. I actually don't think God causes evil. That's a verse in James. He doesn't tempt or do evil. Right, but like in our ability to have free will, his good character, I would say very few things are God going, oh, that's but here's the thing. I look at that book and I go, because he tells a lot of his own personal journey.
He does.
Story. To me, that was the thing that gripped me, was his story.
So I think the gripping part of it would be like either just the... Okay, I'll be polite. There's a lot of pride that you would be like that favored. To me, that was like, oh yeah, that's the moment when God decided to make you a billionaire. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I struggle with that, right? The have-not in me will always be the have-not.
Exactly. The pauper, what is it? Not pauper, what is it? Poverty?
Pauper is Pauper.
Pauper.
Pauper. Like the prince and the pauper.
Hello, Poppet.
That's weird. Don't ever do that.
No, but like, yeah, that...
But either way, there was some broken theology in that book.
Sure.
That I feel like, okay, someone who came from that perspective of, well, it all happened because God chose for it to happen uniquely for me, and I shouldn't question it, I should just move on. Mm-hmm. All right. That didn't make me free, happy, holy, healthy. Sure. It was not until I said, okay, nothing is beyond God's control, but my free choice is my responsibility.
Right.
The negative situations that I put myself in, and 99.9% of them I did, were just that. They were my choice outside of God's direction. Right? Because it's not like I was following God and he led me I was doing my own thing away from God. I was hiding from him and I got there. And I circling back around to like church music, I do feel like the church has a duty to say, hey, finger of the church, stop pointing at people. All right? Because, you don't need to point at people. But we, the other four fingers on the hand, look at that of the church and say, hey, I know that you don't like what we said about you, but you need to address it for the benefit of the whole hand. Yeah. So that's my say on it. Yeah. I don't need reconciliation. I don't need outcome. Just admit that you did it. Right? And if you can't do that corporately, then I do feel like at some point that the church has a responsibility to be like, we love them. They're still the church. Jesus is working there. We disagree with what they've done.
What about like, okay, so like, okay, this church is one of the big ones in the contemporary Christian worship arena. Artists who came up under that wrote songs, published, produced,
got out,
still published, produced, but those songs are under that label.
Yeah.
So at what point is it, hey, you know what? This person loves Jesus. They're writing songs for him. They happen to be under that.
Yeah, it's a bigger question than I have an answer for.
No, I know. But I think these are the things that in the discussion, because what was it? I was talking to someone about judging, but it was this idea of, hey, so I did live that life. I know what,
Yeah, it was the best.
Well, I was always right.
Exactly.
The thing is the passage that absolutely convicted me was the way that you judge will be judged against you.
Right.
And I would rather land on, I want grace, so I'm going to give grace.
Fantastic.
Now, again, this is not a discussion of consequences, right? Like, I wholeheartedly agree with you. There should be consequences for hurt that was done, right? And this is not like a vindication and retribution. It's going, hey, there's actually some illegal things that need to be...
Well, yeah, you can't abuse the body, right?
Yeah. Not even the church. There were people and children hurt,
Yeah.
there should be, consequences for that.
Well, but I mean, Paul kind of lays it out in Corinthians, right? How to address problems in the church.
Right. And so that's the other side of it, though. You have a conservative, fundamental side that loves kicking everyone out of the church. Mm-hmm. And then you have the other side where it's like, no, there's no more consequences. Right. There's nothing. And
then you got churches that just make you sign a contract saying you'll agree with it.
Like an NDA?
No, like a this is biblical authority and I agree to follow it. Not specifically any church.
That's a whole other conversation.
It is. Yeah, either you believe it or you don't, right?
Yeah.
I don't care what I sign because I don't think that holds up in court or whatever.
And it's definitely just more of a personal.
But I mean, like on the flip side, like we don't have to sing those songs. Right, why are we singing, like, it's like, top 40, and then we'll throw in, like, one ancient hymn from 10 years ago. Or maybe just the chorus of it.
I do like remade hymns.
Some of them are really good.
Oh, so good.
So one of my very favorite groups, they're probably connected to that church that we were just talking about. But they were legit a Christian rock band, not a worship band.
Yeah.
But they were like in the 2003, 2004 arena in New Zealand. They were called the Lads. They still perform occasionally because they just never. I think their biggest international tour was when they came to Marble Falls, Texas.
Oh, that's fun.
How they got here, I'll never really understand. But like the pastor at the church I was going to made friends with the lead singer at a conference in New Zealand. I have no idea why he was there.
Yeah,
but he brought him back with him, and they 3 times they came to Marble Falls and put on concerts.
That's crazy.
It was so good. That's cool. They do one. They didn't write it. You Call My Name. Okay. Yeah. It's a psalm, and I love their version of it.
Nice.
And if they're not connected to that other church, I'd be really shocked.
Yeah.
Just proximity and bigness wise, but it's fantastic. Yeah. And that's a redone hymn, and it's it's upbeat and some slow piano, a little jazzy sound. It's kind of smoky.
The Lads.
Yeah, the Lads. I think they have 5 albums. They've got the best youth song ever.
Okay.
Called Cannibalism is Wrong, which is essentially a safe sex song. Or, excuse me, no sex song. Okay. Not safe sex, no sex.
They moved to Nashville.
Do they really? Mm-hmm. Good for them.
Yeah.
I don't remember the lead singer's name.
2005, they relocated to Nashville.
Oh, well, maybe that's why they were coming to Texas.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's the right group from New Zealand?
Yep. A New Zealand Christian rock pop group that was formed in 1993. 2005, also after releasing 5 studio albums, the Lads relocated from New Zealand to Nashville, Tennessee.
And then disbanded, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they never did anything else. They certainly never took off.
Right.
But they're good, well-produced albums. Yeah. They've got another one that I feel like another contemporary Christian singer may have borrowed the idea from.
Oh, okay.
Theirs is like a really poppy, imagine 2005 pop songs.
Oh, yeah.
My Best Friend's the Creator of the Universe, but it talks about the bigness of space.
Okay, so now hold on though, the band started a kids worship series titled Big Big Worship.
Ooh, I bet it's like Wiggles-ish.
But I'm wondering if that was one of their.
No, it wasn't. That was off their first album.
Okay. And they have relocated back to New Zealand as of August 2018. So that's probably why you haven't heard of them.
There you go.
They are active.
Good. I don't remember the lead singer's name. Mark. Actually, I do. Mark. M-A-R-C. Probably a Marcus in reality.
The past band members: Paul, Bennett, Chris, Matt, Christian, Bjorn, Tim, Elliot. There is no Mark.
There was a Mark. That's weird.
Anyways, the big idea.
Oh.
Just be convinced of whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
That's the big idea. That's right.
I guess what it is personal. Follow personal conviction, right?
Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of a tangent thought, but Lacey and I, we rarely buy brand new clothes. We do thrifting.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Because that exact reason. There's I forget there's a term for it of throwaway clothes that they produce now, where basically it's like the clothes only last like a season and then they're rags.
Designed obsolescence.
Yeah. And we're like, jeans will last forever if you take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And not the stretchy, like just regular jeans, but like a lot of our clothes come from secondhand stores for that reason, because we've been convinced we're not going to contribute to adding to just this
consumerism.
Yeah, consumerism, perpetual cycle of buying the newest thing, new season, whatever.
It really helps that y'all are thrifty sizes.
That's true. You know, I've only recently become a thrifty size within the last decade. Prior to that,
there used to be this place in Kingsland. It was the Disabled Veterans Store.
Okay.
DAV.
Okay.
All right, that's what it was called. And it was a junk store. I mean, truly, some of it was straight up trash.
Okay.
I did almost get a laser disc out of there. So I regret not getting it now.
Okay.
All kinds of toys, broken radios, walkie-talkies. Like, basically, old men would die, and their widows would donate the contents of their sheds to this place. And you never knew what you were going to find. Mm-hmm. My grandfather, though, was thrifty.
Okay.
He would pay these people for, like, you know, this is my name, my phone number, here's $10. That's for you. And if a suit comes in this size, you call me before it goes on the rack.
Yeah.
And then he would go buy the suit. So he had like Armani and Brooks Brothers. He had like nice suits.
Oh, nice.
And he was a little on the large side, you know, not like overweight, but he was 6 foot tall. And
yeah.
Always nice suits, Florsham shoes. Like he would get nice shoes. Mm-hmm. And he just had a whole closet full of, and that's probably where I get my clothes obsession from. Yeah. But what he would also do was buy bags of used underwear. Because he'd get like the bag for $0.25.
Nope. No, there is a
and he
line.
would just take them home and he would bleach them. Good as new.
Nope.
You know?
I do have a line of what I will buy used.
Yeah, I don't socks and underwear. I'm sorry, that's gotta be new.
Shoes. There's a great place downtown Minneapolis that does secondhand shoes, but they're top shelf shoes. Mm-hmm. Where I had a $300 pair of Bjorns. I think they're called. Idea. All leather, like super nice. And then when I was in Ireland, I went secondhand shopping and I got a pair of Ducatis.
Oh, nice.
Which is a
motorcycle company.
Yeah, but they did this really nice pair of, and I looked it up. I was like, I'm really curious. I got it for $25, I think. They were a $500 pair of shoes.
So we just threw away.
Yeah. Brand new. Like, I mean, essentially brand new, right? Maybe used one season.
All right, we're coming up near the end, so all right. Let's run this real quick.
What? I asked my question.
The Trinity.
Oh, what? Okay. What's your theory? You have like 10 minutes to wrap this up.
Reading the Unseen Realm.
Okay.
So he's convinced that prior to Jesus, it's not a Trinity, but a duo.
I don't think he's convinced of that.
He certainly makes the case for it.
I don't think that's what he was saying. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It is the Jewish belief of at least two
Yahweh
headships.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Not two gods.
A physical manifestation and a spiritual manifestation.
But I would say he wasn't advocating for that because he was talking about throughout the Old Testament how many times the Word, which was the physical manifestation of God, and then God, Yahweh, and then there was multiple times where he mentioned, but then the Spirit was also present. So I don't think he was advocating for that. He was just referencing the Jewish concept of two Godhead?
Separate but equal.
The Godhead being two, not three.
Right. So
I don't think that was
a Jewish opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that was his, though.
Well, he was wrong about other things.
No, he was using that to argue.
So the Jewish belief was or at least there's a tradition of this two Godheads.
Yahweh. Yeah.
Two Yahweh figures as opposed to a Trinity.
Yep.
And even I would make the argument, and I feel like he did make this argument in the book, is that spiritual manifestation is also the Spirit. It's like there is an overarching God, but he's also like part of him. Part of that is the Spirit, but it's not separate from him yet.
Yeah, but this is a whole other conversation.
Because so if you look at the passage we read Sunday in John 14?
Let me go to
1 through whatever. Jesus like slips up and gives it away.
John 14.
Right? That's what Scott covered.
Okay. Which part?
Okay, go to verse 15.
If you love me, you will keep my commandments.
Is that 15?
Verse 16, I will ask.
Oh, sorry, 16 is what I meant.
I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may be with you forever. That is, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it does not see him or know him, but you know him because he abides in you, and you will be in me.
Okay, so now read the rest one. The next one, 17.
I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. After a little while, the world will no longer see me, but you will see me. Because I live, you will also live. In that day, you will know that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, and I in you. He who has my commandments and keeps them loves me. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, First off, he doesn't mention, he's like me and the Father, and this other guy, who is me, is going to come to you.
But he's not me, because I have to send him.
Right.
But I'm going to be in him.
Because he's split.
See.
I am so convinced of this.
All right, folks, you've heard it. Heresy on our podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I don't see that. I know what you're saying. I think this is exactly the idea of there's three and they're one. Because we don't say the Father's like, no, the Father's in me as well.
Right.
So it's that's the convoluted part.
But that Paul also refers to him over and over again as the Spirit of Jesus Christ.
Right. The Spirit of truth.
Right. Of Jesus Christ.
I have to go to the bathroom.
You ruin everything.
No, that's how we end our podcast. It's tradition now.
All right, final thought for the viewers, all 8 of them. Monthly listens are up. Monthly watches are down.
Wait, monthly listens?
Listeners.
Listening. Oh.
Yeah.
Final thought is truly, if God has convinced you of something, you got to live it out. That's what you got to live out.
Right.
And I'm being serious. That's not like hyperbole or joking.
And it's probably going to suck.
Likely.
All right.
Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.